Hello folks, I hope that you're having just a great and safe day today and keeping yourself safe in today's COVID world. Today I'm taking a look at one of the classics of science fiction, Arthur C Clarke's 2001 A Space Odyssey. This is published in the mid-60s. It is one of the seminal works. It's arguably Arthur C Clarke's most influential work. So we'll be taking a look at it and the author who wrote it, and as well. A lot of fans consider this their favorite work of him. So we'll take a look at it for you and do a nice little review for you today for this work. So 2001 A Space Odyssey was written by a guy, Arthur C Clarke. Arthur C Clarke, as a reminder, is a science fiction writer. He tends to approach his works from a science angle. He has a lot of sort of things that are happening that play into the science aspects of his works, is what he'll regularly dovetail into and unpack for people. This was also a famous movie that was co-written by the two of him and Stanley Kubrick as well. I'll talk a little bit about the movie too here and there, but mostly this is a review of the book that came out with it at around the same time. So 2001 A Space Odyssey is basically going to open up with a scene in Africa, in ancient Africa, as this monolith from the stars has arrived and is going to begin to manipulate people. We're also going to then see this scene repeat itself in the future with a monolith being found on the moon. Ultimately, we'll find these monoliths in other places too. But we're going to begin to find out, ask questions: who sent these monoliths? Why are they so interested in us? What's in these various moons, our moon, and then the signal that it sends it to. So there's a lot of these things that are happening, and they're going to be unpacked. The idea of it being in 2001 is that by now there's been 2 generations of space travel, so you get a chance to see what space travel would actually be like. The colony on the moon feels a lot like the colony in Antarctica that I think Arthur C Clarke may have drawn some inspiration from. It's sort of international, difficult to live at place that needs a lot of work and help from the local people to send it over. There are a lot of different things that are happening in the novel itself, from space travel. There are multiple different viewpoints. There's a gorilla. There's the head of the futuristic UN space agency. There's the future. There's a couple of astronauts that will rotate. Who is in charge of a various novel of a chapter at a time by Clarke. So there's 4 different main people that have different points of view during the course of the novel. So it has those different things that are happening. So basically what's winding up happening is that you're going to have a lot of these scenes that talk a lot about space travel in it, from the naturalization of space travel from the moon to Mars, and back again to the travel from some places in space to deeper in space. And so you're going to see that from multiple different angles as well as this hunt for monoliths and what they mean and why they're interested in humans. And then what's next after that, after we find the answers to those questions, or at least some of them. Now, this novel has a lot of science fiction in it. In fact, I would argue that it's Arthur C Clarke's sciencey-ish science fiction novel. There's just so much science in it. The space travel scenes, the ship is heading on out in the voyage of discovery, the Odyssey, if you will. The journey from Earth to the moon by the head of the space astronauts organization. All these different things that are happening are very, very science-ish. Even the meetings that are held feel like they're being held by scientists. And they're explaining the science of the things while they're talking about it. So there's a lot of this science going on. It's more science than fiction, if you will. And that is Arthur C Clarke's bread and butter. I mentioned in my Big 3 review of him that where I talked about him, that he's the science fiction of the Big 3. Isaac Asimov's more social science, Robert Heinlein's more philosophy, Arthur C Clarke is more hard science. That's where he comes from. Now, when Arthur C Clarke writes, he likes to have a He likes to invest his works with a thinking point. In this case, the thinking point is about our nature, our destiny. But this novel would have been great when being read in the 60s. I can definitely see why, if you read this novel in the 60s, it might have really grabbed you as a contemporary, because of how well fleshed out it makes space travel, because of how fleshed out it seems, how grounded it seems, how scientifically based it seems, with a lot of things that are happening. I do think that coming to it from a modern context, there are some pacing issues that happen. There are times when there's just so much science happening, there's not a lot of fiction happening. Arthur C Clarke can sacrifice the fiction to the science part of it, and that will happen multiple times. And you'll be like, man, it's just so long, and such a long journey going on, and so much happening. I also think that the movie from which it's based also does that too. Stanley Kubrick has some pacing issues in it. Sometimes when you're like, okay, get to the movie, please. I don't need to have more walking in my spaceship. Actually, he had filmed, when he filmed that movie, like a 12-minute scene where they were just like hanging out in the, walking around, just to show how boring space travel would actually be. And I get the point. For our reasons why that, but the movie's already badly based. I would hate to have that much more, have that much more of an issue in it. But yeah, but I do think that there are times when the book will slog around in the science and not in the fiction, and it will hurt the plot. I think the book could have been 40 pages, 50 pages shorter, and it would have been probably a sharper and stronger novel overall. So that's my major critique, is that sometimes you can just get too sciencey. But that it's a big science fiction novel. And again, I get why, if you would read this in the mid-60s, and of course, obviously I wasn't born till the mid-70s, so I would have missed that. Why that would have been such a great read for you, but contemporarily going back to it and rereading it has those sorts of challenges. But there you go. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. That's 2001: A Space Odyssey. What did you think of my review? Did you agree or disagree? Have you read it? If you enjoyed this, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. There's going to be so many more reviews of these classics to follow in fantasy, science fiction, and horror. And finally, I just want to thank you for watching my video. We have so many things happening in our lives, so the fact that you spent this time with me is very, very humbling. And I really do appreciate that. So thanks again and have a great day.